It's 1984, and this is Urusei Yatsura.
出口は見えているけどそこがとても可愛いわ
Well, after the departure of Oshii and I guess Studio Pierrot wanting nothing more to do with the project, Urusei Yatsura would bring on Kazuo Yamazaki as director, working under Studio Dean. He had worked on the previous movies and would go on to direct the final 88 episodes of the series, as well as 2 more full-length movies, and Yamazaki's era would indeed differ greatly from Oshii's. The frenetic pace and high-traffic animation of Oshii's days were gone, and replaced with a noticeably more subdued tone, and a pace that was downright reptilian by comparison. The character designs would also be updated from the 1970s reminiscent ones of Oshii to designs a little more in keeping with those popular in the mid-80s, and whether that's good or not is simply a matter of preference. And all this sounds like a lot of change, and you'll definitely notice it, but the core nature of all the characters was kept so remarkably intact that moving from the Oshii era to the Yamazaki still manages to be a smooth transition. The second part of the series certainly doesn't stray too far from the first, but it does seem to hone in on Tomobiki High a little bit more than the wider town of Tomobiki, with the personal shenanigans of characters like Ansem, Mendo, and Shinobu now receiving much more screen time and narrative focus than the various aliens or wacky circumstances the characters find themselves in. Other than that, though, it manages to be the same show, and although I think most people will have a small preference for the Oshii era, I don't think anyone finds much fault in Yamazaki's. Now, as far as completing the show goes, you don't have to watch any of the movies except for the 5th one, the final chapter, which depicts the ending of the series, but I recommend watching all the movies because they're pretty good. Urusei Yatsura has to be one of the craziest, cutest, most charming little romantic comedy animes out there, and finishing it is bittersweet. After 195 episodes, and hopefully at least 5 movies, you'll be a citizen of Tomobiki Town, and saying goodbye to all the amazing friends you've made will be hard, but you'll never forget the time you spent with them, and guess what? If you want more, there are 13 OVAs you can watch that portray even more stories from the manga. Rumiko Takahashi is one of the best to ever play the game, and this isn't the last we'll hear from her on Orange Vision, so stay tuned, like, subscribe, and check out Urusei Yatsura.